After the AFCON was cancelled, then wasn't. Premier League games are cancelled, then aren't. The Champions League draw was cancelled, then redone. And as for Christmas, well, that's anyone's guess. We just want to remind you, we're still here, listeners, and we are ready to give you your football fix. Welcome to the Anglo-Italian pod. As always, I am Rory, and I'm joined by my very good friend,
Tommaso, and it's episode 30 of the second season, hitting benchmarks. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Anglo-Italian pod, on Twitter at Italian Anglo Pod, and also give a follow to our cheeky sponsor at Sports Club Maps. It's the holiday season, and this might as well be the page where you find the Christmas gifts for your loved ones. Rory, ready for this new episode?
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm getting into the Christmas spirit. I'm ready for my holidays. Booked my flights home to the UK. It's all feeling a bit real, even though the admin is a massive pain in the hole, I'll be honest.
I know, man. So what day are you landing in London, and which airport?
I will be landing in Manchester on the 23rd, so I expect crowds there to greet me, guys. It's
exactly.
been 2 years.
That's why I was asking you. So the fans, do you mind if there are fans welcoming you back home?
Oh, the more the merrier. I expect Maradona landed in Napoli scenes. That's what I expect when I get back. I'll be disappointed if not, guys.
God, can you imagine being a footballer and witnessing those scenes? Like, you land from your flight and you arrive, and it's absolute madness. You are going to experience it in 1 week from today, Rory. I'm excited for you.
I cannot wait. I best start working out. I'm not in the best form I've ever been in, I'll be honest.
Working out with
in a
beers.
week.
Yeah, with beers, so you can keep up with your friends back home. But Rory, I know you've been doing things in Football Manager.
Well, I shared a thing on Twitter today that I was very, very proud of. I think I might have had my greatest. Now, I've been playing Football Manager since I was about 11 years old. I think the first one I played was Championship Manager on 98, 99 or 2000, 2001.
Wow.
I've been playing for a long time, right? Every year. I think I just completed my greatest ever season. I won the quadruple with Arsenal. So I won the League Cup, FA Cup, League title, and the Champions League. And Tommy, I hate to break it to you, I beat Inter in the Champions League final. And to make it even worse, Nicolo Barella scored the winning penalty in the 90th minute of normal time. He scored the winning penalty. But you'll be happy to know
he did not celebrate.
He didn't celebrate.
Oh, wow. So FM also has this thing, like, it knows where players moved from, and they do not celebrate.
He scored the penalty, and then he just stood still, and everyone ran around him.
Oh, nice. Nicola class act. But still, you could have missed it.
Yeah. In that game, Aaron Ramsdale did step up and save a penalty as well, proving big moments. But I'm just, honestly, I was doing, now I hope my boss doesn't listen. We were doing exams in class today. And whilst the kids were sat doing the exams, I was playing these finals. So I had the FA Cup final and the Champions League final. Not celebrating that penalty was the most self-restraint I've shown in quite a long time. Of like not just going, yes, yes. I was so happy. The team is ridiculous. Osimhen can't even get into my first team. Vlahovic is up front. Osimhen has to come off the bench. Midfield of Declan Rice and Barella. And it's just, honestly, it's made my day. It's made my week. It was such a great save. But now, listeners, I need your feedback. I feel like the save isn't going to get any better than that. I cannot have a better season, right?
You need to pull a Mourinho and leave Arsenal, man.
Well, this is the question, right? Do I start a new save? Do I just quit Arsenal and wait for someone to pick me up? Because let's face it, someone has to now. Or do I continue with Arsenal and just make a legacy? I'll bear in mind that I have won the Premier League 2 years in a row now as well. So it's not like a one-off. I feel like maybe the work's done. I
think the work's done. You want to go out as a winner. Go to I know it sounds terrible, you're an Arsenal fan, but go to one of the biggest clubs in the world, maybe go to a Real Madrid or something like that. No?
Yeah, I've kind of been keeping an eye on who's getting sacked, and no one's been bloody sacked yet. So I'm waiting for the big jobs to arrive. But
what
I
if
think I might just have to quit.
What if Inter Milan offered you a job after the Champions League final? Would you accept it?
Yeah, and then I'd win it with them. and get
against
it back.
Arsenal in the final.
Yeah.
Before we actually jump to the actual football, listeners, please do let Rory know what to do now with his FM save. It's very important. But Rory, do you have any recollection maybe of what players Inter Milan had in this fantasy world?
It was basically the same squad, except I'd taken Barella off them and Bastoni had been sold. And I think Lautaro had gone. I didn't really look too much at the team. I know
Do you remember
Skriniar and
who
De Vrij was
missed the
still
penalty?
there,
Do you remember who missed the penalty?
It was a guy called Walsh. It was a young Brazilian guy.
God damn it, we're back
Someone
to
you
you.
signed, but importantly, Ramsdale saved it. Ramsdale
saved it. Very good, very important. It's beautiful. You can actually win the quadruple with Arsenal in video games. That's why they are so popular all over the world.
And I'm only 3 seasons in. It's not even like 20 years in. It's not that long.
Back in the day when Inter couldn't win a league for 17 consecutive years, there was this comedian who had an incredible sketch. He was a diehard Inter fan. And on national television, he just talked about, like long ball for Adriano. Adriano shoulders off one defender, shoulders off another one. He fucking beasts in front of the goalkeeper, chips the goalkeeper. It's a post and then a goal. The goalkeeper whistles because it's also the end of the game. And then my wife tells me, "Hey, baby, can you turn off the PlayStation?" And that was like the Champions League final. So it really lived in our minds rent-free back in the day. But ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to actually talk about real football. We are going to review this midweek Premier League action. We're going to preview this weekend's action both in Serie A and the Premier League. We're going to tell you a little bit of the situation in the Coppa Italia, and then it's weekly topic time, this time around dedicated entirely to one of our favorite players, I want to say, who has just retired, but you will have to keep listening to find out who it is, even though it's very simple. And at the end of the show, of course, you're going to find our Passaparola Quiz. Rory, should we jump on the blimp?
Let's go. And here we are, up high in our Euro blimp. And it's mainly been English action or Premier League action this week. But as Tommy said, there has been a little sprinkling of Coppa Italia. And you know that we want to try and make the Coppa Italia big. So we're going to try and give it a little bit of coverage. I think we think it deserves more, right? So we are going to make sure we keep on top of it. But we have to start in the Premier League. And Tommy, were there any particular results that caught your eye over this week? Any that stood out to you?
There was one. There is one team from North London that kept a clean sheet in a very tough game against a very tough team that has killed quite a few giants. And I did send you a voice message acknowledging what Arsenal accomplished, the 2-0 win against West Ham. Clean sheet, 2 goals. How are you feeling?
I did actually mean the Man City 7, Leeds 0, but yeah, let's do Arsenal first.
No, that actually, the Man City 7, Leeds 0, I was just like, holy fuck, they went hard. But then I was also impressed by Arsenal because West Ham are no mugs this season, and you guys made apparently light work of them. I just watched the highlights, didn't watch the full game. How did it go?
Okay, let's start with Arsenal. Yeah, it was really good, really, really good. I feel like it was one of our best, if not the best performance of the season. I feel like the games where we've played the best have been the Leicester game. The first half we played really well. First half against Tottenham we played well. The Villa game we played well, but I feel like this game we played well consistently across the 90 minutes. Now, before we get into praising Arsenal, which it's coming,
Don't worry, it's coming.
we do need to talk about, there was a big moment where the game kind of changed. And I don't know if you saw it in the highlights, but the red card for Kufal, for me, seemed crazy harsh. Now, I have to say that Lacazette is embarrassing when it comes to diving. I always remember that game when there was no fans against Burnley, where all you could hear was him screaming and the person had never touched him. Like, he's really bad with diving. He spent most of the game on his back. Now, I think with this tackle, he definitely made the most of it and he was looking for it. Kufal did make contact, but he got the ball first and it was a very good tackle. And I feel like now, even if you do get the ball, if you make any contact with the defender afterwards, it's a penalty. So at which point are we basically outlawing the slide tackle? Is that what's happening? Because unless you can break physics and like change the direction of your body after moving, there's not a lot Kufal, I think it's Sufal, isn't it? Sufal could have done there, really. And I think at a very, very severe push, it was a penalty, and it wasn't. For it to be a red card as well, I like a second yellow and a red, I thought was crazy harsh. What did you think?
No, yeah, I just so did he get a straight red or a second yellow?
It was a second yellow.
But still, it does not look like a foul because it does a very nice tackle. Now, the thing that is arguable is, does he need to be keeping the leg that high to get the ball? And the answer is probably he doesn't. But then he does get the ball, and then he gets Lacazette's shin. Then about Lacazette's 15 turns on the ground. I don't even want to comment on that. But look, we have covered it even in the latest episode. We needed to have a referee on that will explain. We should, whenever we will have a referee on, we will bring 5 different situations and be like, can you explain to us why this is a yellow card? And this might as well be one of them.
Yeah, I thought it was, and it was harsh anyway. And it was a moment of the game where West Ham were definitely in the game. Arsenal were doing their classic, let's just sit back for no reason and invite pressure. So West Ham were definitely coming into it. And actually, after they went down to 10 men, Arsenal looked more scared than before. And I was more nervous at that point. But I'm going to actually focus on Arsenal now. We did a really good job. They've got one of the better defenses in the league, and our defense completely bossed it. Midfield, sorry. They've got one of the best midfields in the league, and our midfield completely bossed it. Xhaka was a little bit too slow on the ball still. I think he does slow us down a bit too much, but Partey was starting to see him become the player that we know he is. He'll have one game on, one game off, but this was one of his games on. The players that really stood out to me, Bukayo Saka, as always. This kid is just unbelievable. They had 3-4 players on him at times trying to mark him, and he was finding space. Masuaku isn't defensively the most solid defender, but Saka basically had full reign of that wing. He is just, the way he manages to find space for himself, always cutting in onto his other foot, getting balls into the box. I do genuinely listeners of the pod, and you know how much I love Bukayo Saka, but I honestly think he's still underrated. People don't realize how good this kid is. When you watch him week in, week out, and he's in an Arsenal side that aren't that great, he just stands out head and shoulders above you. This guy is going to go so far. And speaking of young players, Martinelli. Now, we had a few weeks ago, I think on the Monday show, we were talking about why isn't he playing? Why isn't he getting minutes? And I'm going to pat myself on the back slightly.
Yeah, our friend Steve Cole said that he was being ruined by Arteta or something.
Well, and I think that was not to call out Steve, but
no, we're not.
I think that was a common. There was a lot of narrative kind of saying that, why aren't we seeing this guy? And Arteta genuinely has just coached him. Now, a line that came out afterwards. Arteta said he has managed to put some gears into his game rather than doing everything at 100 miles an hour. And I think that sums it up perfectly. Whenever he came on and whenever he's playing, it was just blistering pace, just run, don't stop running, which is great. But I think now Arteta has taught him when to hold, when to run, when to make moves, when to kind of pass the ball back, when to keep it. And he's becoming an incredibly exciting player. His goal, it couldn't help but remind me of a Thierry Henry finish. The way he broke the line and then shifted his body weight and put it into the far corner, I was like, that is Henry-esque.
The first touch was very impressive, and it's the only first touch that you can take in that situation because you control it in a different way and the defender catches up to you in a split second.
Well, that's it, exactly. And even his acceleration after that touch, because I thought, oh, crap, the defender's going to catch him. And his acceleration was unreal. And we have to say the assist was from Lacazette, who's another player that I want to talk about. Now, we talked again about how if Aubameyang doesn't score, you get nothing else. With Lacazette, that is what you get. He builds up play, he drops deep, he passes, he does all in a kind of, he does more in an all-round way. Yes, he missed a penalty, and we've won 3 penalties this year and missed all of them, which is a problem. We need someone who can step up and kick a ball from 12 yards. That would be really useful. But I think, like I said, it's the young players in this team that are standing out. The average age of the team is 23 years old, 23.6 years old, I think. And I saw a stat today that 83% of our goals have either been scored or assisted by players that are under 23. And this is something that, again, I keep saying it, we keep talking about it, but the exciting thing about this Arsenal team is that they are young and where they potentially could go. But the problem is Arsenal are also making me kind of schizophrenic because 1 week I'm like down in the dumps of like, we are so crap. We've lost to Everton. How has this happened? And then we have a really encouraging performance. Like, oh my God, we can do it. And then we've got Leeds away next. And I'm thinking they've just lost 7-0. They're definitely going to beat us. Like, we still don't know where we're going to be or what's going to happen next week. But while the wins keep coming, it's pretty exciting. We're in the top 4 for the first time in 14 months. It's just
exciting. And you overtook West Ham in the standings, so that was also a big win for that. I would like to shout out to one player, since you were talking about youngsters, Lucas Fabianski. He's 36 years old, been in the Premier League for as long as I can remember. I just checked, and it was actually 15 years ago. This is his 15th season. This guy just keeps performing, and whenever I watch highlights, I'm just like, he's still there, and he's still making moves.
He's a great goalkeeper. I think me and Tom have talked about him a lot. Tom loves him. I've said for a while that outside of like the traditional top 6 clubs, he's the best goalkeeper in the league. I think he like genuinely, West Ham fans will tell you how many points he got them last year. And I think when he was at Arsenal, I thought we made this weird decision of going with Almunia rather than him. And I don't know why. And I honestly would have kept Fabianski. I also would have kept Szczesny, but I would have kept Fabianski.
Turns out Arsenal don't like Polish players. I don't know.
Yeah. We shipped them both out. No idea why. But Fabianski's been great for years, still going, saved a great save from a penalty as well. I'm not sure it was the greatest penalty from Lacazette, but it was a really good penalty save. I think West Ham, their big problem was that Antonio we've said it before, he's their only option up front. And when he's tired, which obviously happens, he just looked knackered and they didn't have an out ball. So every time he got the ball, he either gave it away or couldn't hold on to it. And it just meant that they were constantly penned in their own half. They definitely had a few chances. Fornals came close in the first half. Like I said, when they went down to 10 men, they were putting more pressure on them when they had 11. So I think there was a moment where I was worried about us letting it slip. But then, last young player that I'm going to talk about, Emil Smith-Rowe comes on, and I think it was Jamie Carragher that said he's, with the ball at his feet and space in front of him, he's one of the most terrifying players in the Premier League at the moment. And what he got was he grabbed the ball, shifted onto his left, ran, and just first time shot, bottom corner. Every time he shoots, it seems to go on target. And every time it shoots, it seems to go in. He's like, I think he's our top scorer this year. This is his first full season playing for us as a starter, as our number 10. Our statistics with him out of the team and with him in the team are ridiculous. This kid is another guy who he was loaned out to Germany for a while. I think it was Leipzig. He was injured. It didn't really happen for him. Went to Huddersfield and people thought, okay, it's probably just going to be a championship player. We'll see what happens. And then how he's just exploded into the Arsenal team and become so key is honestly mind-blowing. But there's a kind of a slight good problem that we have now, which is, who do we play? Martinelli, he's in the last 2-3 games he's played, he's scored in 2, right? Assisted. He's got 1 assist, 2 assists. But he's in a position that Emil Smith-Rowe would usually be in, out on the left, right? Mm-hmm. So do you play him or Smith-Rowe? And then Ødegaard has to play. He's just scored 3 in 4 games, right? Or 3 goals in 3 games in a row. He has to play. Saka's never going to play, never going to drop. So it's man, we've actually got a problem of who we play in attacking midfield. And obviously, with young players, their form is going to go up and down. It is going to dip. But for the moment, things are good. Things are optimistic. And the whole thing is just, the drama is not going as long as we're winning, right? And I think that's going to be putting him kind of in his place. By the way, Tommy, I've seen him linked with Inter, so good luck with that one.
I saw him linked to Juventus. Juventus are penniless though at the moment, so I don't know what kind of contract they could offer him. But we know that
we'll
Juventus
pay his wages. Don't worry, Juventus. We'll pay him.
You see, then might as well be the perfect deal, and Juventus can snatch one of their deals. We'll pay you back in 2051 with one of our new youngsters. I don't know.
I also saw a great rumor they've been linked with Anthony Martial on loan.
Mamma mia.
God.
Mamma mia. But let's keep going with the Prem, Rory. Man City Leeds 7-0. Now, big question. Which one was your favorite goal? You can give me maximum 2 if you remember them all. I just had to rewatch them very quickly.
Honestly, I'm not going to remember the order that they came in. I think the De Bruyne second goal, the one he just absolutely spanks.
Agreed. But also the first one he scored, because the assist by Rodri is absolutely spotless. It's perfect. And it's from so far out. Beautiful pass. Beautiful
was full-on exhibition football from City. There was a point where they were doing, like, literally doing a rondo while Leeds were on the pitch. You're like, oh my God, this is getting bad. This is getting really bad. Like, we've said it. City are hitting their gear now. They're hitting that point where they're just going to not... last season they went on that 23, 24 game winning streak or whatever it is. It feels like they're starting to get to that stage of the season where they're just going to be like, win. And just, it's everyone else's job to keep up. Now, 7-0 is particularly staggering. But with Leeds, we know that when they concede goals, they concede goals. Like, they never concede 1. It's always like 4 or 5 or like 3. They do tend to like let them in. And
12 goals conceded over the last 3 games. Yeah, 4 per game.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is.
And I'm kind of torn because I really, really love Bielsa. And I know that Leeds fans love him. And obviously, this isn't going to affect his future. He's still the best manager they could possibly get. But you have to say, like, when you're 4-5-0 down, why not just try and think, right, just damage limitation now. Let's just not make it. Because psychologically for those players, that's going to be pretty bad. And one of the goals, the John Stones goal, when I think Meslier saved it 3 times and John Stones just kept hitting it at him and eventually it went in. Those defenders were completely like shell-shocked by that point. And I feel like once it gets to 7, where do you go from there? Like, ask Hasenhüttl, he's lost 9-0 twice, if you know what I mean. But, like, I think, where do you go from here? And what kind of annoyed me the most was, with Bielsa, I think a lot of people really relish when he fails. I think there's a lot of people that are instantly like, oh, well, at least they play good football, right? At least that, now they've been battered. And it's like, yeah, well, obviously, like, on that one result, yeah, fine. But it's like, do you want to see unadventurous, boring managers? Is that what you want? You want your relegated teams to just try and not lose 1-0 every week? Like, or do you want these managers that push boundaries, play nice football, try and do something different? They might get spanked one week, but he's still... Last season was the highest a promoted team has ever finished in the Premier League, right? He's still doing an incredible job. And I feel like the relish that some people take when it goes wrong is really irritating. Like, almost like, we told you so. We told you he was crap. We told you he's just hype. And it's like, I don't know, the relish really kind of annoys me a bit, as you can probably hear. I read a biography and I just fell in love with him.
What this usually happens after Rory reads a biography, included the one about Adolf Hitler. But we were saying...
yeah, that's for my other pod on the dark web. That one's only accessible on the dark web.
That's on our other podcast where we review biographies of
dictators. Exclusively dictators.
Yeah, strictly dictators. No, very quick question, because we still have a lot of ground to cover. I wanted to ask you, has Jack Grealish justified his price tag so far this season? He was on the score sheet last night with a header. Pretty strange. Only happens at City. But has he been doing good enough to justify his 100 million pound price tag?
Short answer, no. But also, he hasn't really started that much. It's a classic City thing of, like, every year they sign a player for a massive amount of money and then they barely play and everyone goes, oh, it's a flop. And then they come in the next year and they're unbelievable. I just think it takes time for Guardiola to coach the players how they need to play City football. He did a great job at Villa. Obviously, he was unbelievable at Villa. But I feel like, honestly, Guardiola's coaching him. But yeah, for 100 million, you would expect more. You would definitely expect more. He has been underwhelming. Villa fans, still hate him. I don't know. I think it's a lot of money, isn't it? It's a lot of money. It's more than most Premier League teams spend in a transfer window. So it is a lot of money.
And maybe it also takes more than one season to justify that price tag. But talking about villains, talking about Villa, Steven Gerrard has only lost 2 games since he's been in charge, and his Aston Villa side have never conceded more. Actually, the 2 games that they've lost. Sorry, I thought I had a witty stat to bring there. But yeah, except Man City, they've never conceded more than 2 goals in any other game. Actually, in all the other games, at maximum 1 goal conceded, including in the game against Liverpool. So, Steven Gerrard, we were saying that maybe his first spell at coaching over in Scotland was too easy of a job, maybe, but maybe he's actually learned and he's a new manager ready to make a career out of this. What do you think?
Well, I think it says a lot that they've gone from when he took over, they were worried about relegation, to now their fans are talking about a push for the top 6. Like, that is a quick turnaround, right? They're currently on 22 points, 6th place are on 27, so it's definitely not out of the question. Their form has been like win, lose, win, but obviously they played City and Liverpool in that time, so you have to be realistic. Yeah, in the 6 games he's managed, they've won 4, lost 2, scored 9, conceded 5. All around, just looking a lot more solid, a lot more clinical in front of goal. Ollie Watkins is starting to score again. I think just a lot of kind of reasons for optimism at Villa Park. It has to be said that they were playing Norwich, who are basically relegated. And since their manager took over, ex-Villa manager Dean Smith, they've won 1, drawn 2, lost 3, scored 3, and conceded 8. So really not good reading for them. But these are results that under the end of Dean Smith, they weren't picking up, right? They were losing to teams that they should be beating, and now they're not. So there's definitely been an improvement. For Steven Gerrard, he's definitely showing that he is a capable manager, if not a good manager. It'll just be to see where they finish, right, across the season, because with new manager bounce, you never quite know. If they have a setback, you don't know how they're going to respond, but so far so good. And yeah, Villa are going to be fine. Maybe pushing for Europe again. I think for them, realistically, like 8th place finish, 9th would be fantastic for them, really.
We've got 2 more games to cover before you explain to us why games have been postponed, cancelled in the Premier League. Let's start from the wolf eating the seagull. Oh my God, Brighton, what's going on? They lose 1-0 at home to Wolverhampton. What can you tell us about this game that was decided by a Sace goal at the 46th minute?
It was a beautiful goal as well from Sace, a really beautiful goal. But Brighton now 12 without a win. Their next games are United away, Brentford at home, Chelsea away, and Everton at home. Top of your head, Tommy, how many points are they getting from those 4 games?
Repeat the teams that they're playing.
Man United away, Brentford at home, Chelsea away, and Everton at home.
1/2.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
1/2.
I think they'll beat Everton because everybody beats Everton, but I'm not convinced they'll beat everybody except Arsenal. Asterisk. I don't think they beat Brentford, and I certainly don't think they beat United and Chelsea. But as we've seen with Brighton, they've kind of turned up in the bigger games. But it's the classic thing of like they lose every game by 1 goal. It's always 1 goal in it. It's 1-0, 0-0, 0-0, 1-0. Like it's always just that hair's width away from doing something. And obviously, as with Brighton, I had to look up their XG stats because it's like the law when you talk about Brighton now. Last season, their XG in general was like 1.8 per game. So they were kind of creating enough chances to get 2 goals a game. This year is all the way down to 1.33. So it's like barely getting enough chances for 1 goal. Their chance creation has gone down. Their chance conversion rate has gone down. They're down to like 7%, whereas it was 11% last year. When people were laughing at them, their conversion rate was 11%. Now it's 7%, right? So it feels like their attacking threat is kind of reducing even further. And for Brighton, that is definitely a problem. For Wolves, it's another case of there's always 1 goal in it, but they seem to be finding themselves on the right side of it. Again, they don't score many, they don't concede many. There's a lot of 1-0s, there's a lot of like 2-1s. There was that one mad game, which was 3-2 against Villa, but mostly it's like they're averaging 2 goals a game, like across both teams. So 2 teams that aren't creating goals, of course, it ended 1-0.
And if you want to open the calendar and check the last time that Brighton and Hove Albion have won a game in the Premier League, you would have to page through all the way back to September. The day, the 19th, when they won 2-1 over Leicester. Since then, a whole lot of draws and the 3 defeats, which if you think about
it's not that bad.
Time, it's not that bad. So again, we are kind of disappointed by the goal. We are not disappointed by Graham Potter because we know that he's doing he's doing his job, and the better days will come. But Brighton and Hove Albion's fans, remember, only 3 defeats since September 19th. That's not bad at all.
I'm pretty sure Arsenal have lost more games in that time. I'm pretty sure.
You see, beautiful. So you see, there's always a silver lining. And then a draw for Mr. Patrick Vieira, 2-2 against the Southampton. Did you watch the game?
I saw the highlights. Selhurst Park is becoming a bit of a fortress. They really are making it a difficult place to go. They are now 6th in the home table, winning 3, drawing 5, and losing only 1 at home. Selhurst Park, we know that the atmosphere is fantastic, and they are making it more and more difficult to go there. So after 3 straight defeats, Crystal Palace finally are now unbeaten in 2, obviously winning last weekend against Everton and now beating Southampton.
Drawing it to Southampton.
Sorry, drawing against Southampton. And yeah, Patrick Vieira, we've said this again, with Crystal Palace, they're going to be up and down. They're going to win 1, lose 1, draw 1, win 1, lose 1, draw 1. But I'm just happy that he's making Selhurst Park a difficult place to go to. And it's somewhere that I will not be looking forward to Arsenal visiting because we do tend to struggle there. But Patrick Vieira having a great time. Conor Gallagher, as always, killing it. Just a really nice, another young, exciting team to watch that play good football in the Premier League.
And the only defeat for Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park came against...
Was it us? No.
No.
We've not played him yet.
It was Steven Gerrard, of course.
Oh, Jesus. So, yeah. Bloody hell. Gerrard, there we go.
Just 2 weeks ago, indeed. And the listeners, by the time you'll be listening to this, you will know the results of Chelsea-Everton and the Liverpool-Newcastle. Of course, we're recording on a Thursday night before these kickoffs. But Rory, Leicester-Tottenham, cancelled. Burnley-Watford, cancelled. Brentford-Man U, cancelled. What's going on, bud?
The Premier Leage's approach to this is honestly quite impressive. The lack of willingness to have a defined plan is genuinely commendable. I've no idea what the threshold is for a game to be cancelled or not. Obviously, I'm not going to go off on an Arsenal rant again, but we did have 5 players missing, forced to play the game. Some teams had 4 players missing, were forced to play. So I remember Liverpool had a game in the Cup last year where they just had to play reserve players because they had no players fit. But now that's enough to get it called off, and then other games on. And I think just what we need is a threshold number of either squad players, support staff, or both. And like once it hits this number, that's the balancing point, the game's cancelled. If this constant kind of judging each case on merit, what it does is it means that a lot of fans are buying tickets, buying travel, paying for hotels. Then the game's cancelled by the Premier League. And of course, the hotel doesn't give a shit if the Premier League game's cancelled. The train doesn't give a shit if the Premier League game's cancelled. You can't get your money back. So fans are losing money. And also for the players, everything organizationally, it would take one meeting, I imagine, to write down and come up with a rule of this is the threshold. And the fact they haven't done it yet it is confusing, but it kind of, without going into politics, it goes in line with the UK's general approach to COVID, I think. But it's just, we need some clarity because it's getting confusing. But on a plus side, I think, Serie A want to kick out Salernitana. Tottenham apparently don't want to play in the Premier League. We can just switch the teams, finally get Tottenham out of the Premier League. We'll take Salernitana. Both solve each other's problem. I think that's quite a nice result, right?
Indeed, indeed. And I was just going to say one thing. In case you're wondering, in case you're not from the UK and you're wondering about the trains in the UK, they are bloody fucking expensive. So
Yeah,
you
it's
were
mad.
talking,
It's mad.
dude, I remember I was in Liverpool years ago. I was in Liverpool and we were buying a trip back to London. And I was like, how much is it going to be? Like, it's just a train. You know, in Italy, they're not that expensive.
Yeah,
Holy
yeah.
shit. When they told me the price, I was like, not round trip, only one way. And she was like, yeah, £75. I was like, holy fuck.
Mate, I've just had to pay £100 for 2 tickets to go from Manchester to Liverpool on a slow train that takes 3.5 hours. Like, honestly,
God,
British trains. I'm not getting it. No politics. I'm not complaining about Britain. Let's go.
Let's jump over to the Bel Paese, the beautiful country where Coppa Italian round of 32 is taking place this very week on Tuesday night. So how does it work in Italy? There is basically a bracket. The Serie A teams, the top Serie A teams, they come in later in the bracket to give a chance to the smaller teams, in quotation marks, to advance. Now, how is it going? Venezia on Tuesday night, they won against Ternana 3-1. Udinese defeated Crotone 4-0, and our friend Nicolò Zanellato, that plays fantasy football with us, was in the pitch. He was subbed at the 40th minute of the first half. Nicolò, this is what happens when you refuse to come on the pod.
Yeah.
You get subbed
Bad
off.
Bad karma. We will turn your career around, I promise.
Yeah, come over, dude. There are managers from all over Europe listening to us. And this is the big news. Andriy Shevchenko gets his first W ever since getting the job at Genoa, and he does so against an extremely tough side to beat this season, Salernitana.
1-0. They're just dishing out the 3 points, dishing them out.
And it wasn't exactly a walk in the park. They scored at the 76th minute, goal by a Cuban. I bet it felt like taking a dump after 3 days of constipation. So good job for you, Andriy, and hopefully this can turn Genoa's fate around for the rest of the season. Always in the round of 32, this was a very thrilling game. Hellas Verona 3, Empoli 4. Now, guys, Empoli, we've already said it.
Two of our favorite teams this season.
Indeed. So Empoli take the lead at the 15th minute with Lamantia. Then just 3 minutes later, Verona equalize. And then it's a Verona show. They go up 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. And then in the matter of 2 minutes, the result is again 3-4. So the dying minutes of this game were super intense. But in the end, Empoli managed to snatch the win. Cagliari also able to get a win with the Serie B side, the Cittadella. They scored the 3, so they won 3-1. And Fiorentina also advanced with a bunch of second-string players. Mainly, the goals were by Milenkovic and Sotil, and they ended up winning 2-1 against Benevento. Of course, again, we are recording on a Thursday. You will know the final results of Spezia Lecce and Sampdoria Torino, but as of now, at the 57th minute, Lecce are leading away from home 2-0 at Spezia.
Wow, nice.
Oh, finally, all the other results were kind of expected, even for Genoa and Cagliari. This one is the first upset, it feels like. By the way, guys, Lecce and Bari have incredible fan bases. Mm-hmm. There are these historical Serie B teams, like lower division teams, that are just a massive gathering of supporters. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the images from Spezia. I think there are quite a lot of supporters that followed them all the way there. Shall we stay in Italy and preview these weekend's clashes, Rory?
Let's do it.
It all kicks off today, listeners, on Friday night, actually quite early, 6:30. Two teams that, one needs to finally find their form, and the other desperately need points not to be relegated. At 6:30, it kicks off in Rome, Lazio, Genoa. Now, Lazio are one of the most inconsistent inconsistent top sides I've seen recently. They are currently on 9th position at 25 points, 7 wins, 4 draws, and 6 losses. Over the past 5 games, they've won 1, drawn 2, and lost 2 against Napoli and Sassuolo. Apparently, Sarri spent 1 hour and a half after the defeat to Sassuolo in the morning. No training. They went there, reviewed the game, and apparently he called out every single player who made every single mistake on the pitch. However, Lotito, this is a typical Italian thing. If you guys have followed our chats with Luca, when things get really bad, the president of the team goes to the training ground to kind of scold the players. Mm-hmm. Apparently, Lotito is a president that loves doing this type of shit. This time around, apparently, he said, I have maximum trust in Sarri, and I know that he will deliver the message for me. What I was reading an article in the newspaper this morning. What is
sounds really menacing. Sorry, it sounds really menacing.
Yeah, what is very interesting is that apparently Sarri went hard with these guys, and the next evening they had the Lazio Christmas party, and they all generally looked like they were having a great time. So it just feels like all kind of strange at Lazio this season. But yes, Lazio trying to be consistent again, and Genoa desperately looking for a win. Right now, they've got both penalty taker Criscito and Mattia Destro back. It only took Mattia Destro 10 minutes coming back from injury to score his first goal. So this might as well be an exciting game to watch. And then what could be a little less exciting to watch is Salernitana Inter at 8:45. Do you think it could be a Man City Leeds type of score?
I don't know if they do that in Italy, really. Isn't there usually an agreement to stop after 5 or something? Isn't it usually let's just call it quits?
I don't know. Like, looking at the intensity with which Inter played against the Cagliari last week, I don't think they're going to stop. Maybe if they hit 6 or 7, they will. But
I think it could. But I think, honestly, it could be. Salernitana are bang in trouble, eh?
But look, right now I'm just sounding...
I did hear that Sanchez is going to start, though. So you're in trouble, Salernitana.
I'm just sounding smug right now. Look, with all respect to Salernitana, they are not doing well, and that's an understatement. They have won only 1 game this season against Venezia at the end of October. The rest has all been losses, except the draw to Cagliari. I don't expect anything but a very convincing Inter win, but football is football, and we never know. Maybe Salernitana even manage to score 1 goal. Then on Saturday, 3 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. This is kind of a surprise because usually these big games are at night time, but Atalanta-Roma at 3 p.m. How do we feel about this one? Atalanta, we've already covered it in the pod. We do believe they are serious contenders for this year's title alongside Inter Milan. And the Roma have won 2 consecutive games, one in the Conference League against Sofia, 3-2 away from home. And the latest that was played on Monday night was 2-0 against Spezia, with goals by centre-backs Smalling and Ibanez. Rory, predictions about Atalanta-Roma?
You never know what form of Roma is going to turn up, but I'm going to say Atalanta get the job done pretty handedly here. I think this is going to be another humbling night for Mourinho, I think.
It might as well be. I kind of agree with you. Bologna-Juventus at 6 p.m. We know that the Bianconeri are keen to making us smile this year. So, is this going to be another upset? Bologna are not a bad team at all. They've had their best start to Serie A that they'd had since the early 2000s. And apparently, Sinisa Mihajlovic was fuming after the defeat to Torino, and he said that they're not going to underperform this time around. And when Mihajlovic says that, it sounds kind of intimidating. Mm-hmm. And then at 8:45, always on Saturday, we've got Cagliari Udinese. Let's move on to Sunday very quickly, where we've got a lunchtime match at 12:30, Fiorentina Sassuolo, followed by Spezia Empoli at 3 p.m. At 6 p.m., we've got Sampdoria Venezia, then Torino Hellas Verona, and the big one is on Sunday night at 8:45. Milan against Napoli. Now, Napoli are already in 4th position. Yes, life comes at you pretty fucking quick. Napoli are in 4th position at the moment, so they are below Inter, Milan, and Atalanta. But if Atalanta also win against Roma, AC Milan will be feeling the pressure because they will be all of a sudden 3rd. And so both teams will be like, oh shit, we must win this game. There are rumors that Victor Osimhen might as well start this game with a special mask designed, of course, by a Swiss engineer / doctor.
I thought you were going to say Armani. I really thought you were going to say Armani.
Armani? No. Of course, designed by a Swiss doctor. I don't know what he does, but I saw like a quote unquote of how the mask is going to work. I was like, holy shit, they put a lot of effort in this. AC Milan probably cannot start Ibrahimovic, but his replacement, French youngster Olivier Giroud, might be the starter for the Rossoneri. An exciting game that every Inter and Atalanta fan hopes that will end in a draw. And that's it for the Serie A. Rory, what have we got in the Premier League?
In the Premier League, well, as things stand, the schedule stands at this, right? I don't know. Honestly, they could have already been cancelled, listeners. It's hard to keep up. I'm going to preview them anyway, so let's go. It starts on Saturday, and I'm going to do UK time, guys, so set your clocks back. It starts on Saturday at 3 o'clock. We have Southampton versus Brentford. Southampton really bang out of form. It looked for a moment like they were going to drag themselves out of this relegation battle, but they're being dragged back in quite rapidly. Brentford kind of starting to pick up a few wins again, only lost 1 in their last 5. I think Brentford at home against Southampton, they should get the job done. Then we have Watford taking on Crystal Palace. Claudio Ranieri, honestly, I think he could be sacked pretty soon. They are in terrible form, and we know that Watford love sacking managers. As we said, Patrick Vieira is getting Crystal Palace back on the horse. Can they get another 3 points here at Vicarage Road? I'm going to say yes, they can. Then again on Saturday at 3 o'clock, West Ham against Norwich City. The perfect game for West Ham to get themselves back into winning ways. It'll be interesting to see if they stick with the same lineup, if they change, because a lot of the players did look a bit knackered. West Ham do have a lot of defenders missing. I think 3 of their main back 4 are out injured, so they are looking a bit ropey at the moment. But I think they should be able to get a win over Norwich, who look doomed as ever. Then on Saturday, again at 3 o'clock, we have the Battle of the Claret and Blues. Aston Villa taking on Burnley. Burnley bang in trouble in the relegation zone on 11 points, still 2 points behind Watford. Burnley are a difficult team to play. They've got 4 draws in their last 5, 4 draws and lost 1. So again, if they can just start turning these draws into wins, get that odd goal that we're used to them getting, that odd set piece going in, that Chris Wood flick on header, if they can start getting that rub of the green again, I think they've got enough to stay to keep themselves up. But as we said, Aston Villa reformed under Steven Gerrard, only lost 2 games. And I think this is not going to be added to the loss list, as I think Villa should probably do this. Late on Saturday at 5:30, Arsenal travel to Elland Road. Leeds fresh off a 7-0 battering. Who better to face the next game than the slump busters, Arsenal? So we will see how this one goes. Arsenal's home form, we are joint top in the league next to Man City on 22 points. Away form, we are down in 16th. Our away form is terrible, and this is why I'm worried about the game. For Leeds, we know exactly how they're going to play. We know what they're going to do. I think their intensity could cause us problems. Then going to Sunday, 2 teams that people think are better than they are. On Sunday at midday, we have Everton taking on Leicester City. These are 2 teams that were meant to be trying to break the top 4, meant to be getting into the top 6, pushing for Europe. Let me tell you their positions. Everton are 14th and Leicester are 9th. Not that bad, but a lot lower than you'd expect them to be. Leicester only getting 2 wins in their last 5. Everton, 1 win in their last 5. Yes, you know who it was against. I think Leicester are going to add another little green tick to their form in this one, though. Then on Sunday at 2:00, we have Wolves taking on Chelsea. Chelsea full on wobbling. I think like it really is. It started off as like, when you're riding a bike and you get a little bit of your handlebars start shaking.
Yeah.
And then it's like a wobble. And then before you know it, it's all over the place. I feel like Chelsea are at a key point where they just need to steady it a little bit.
Can I say one thing about Chelsea? Their stats before this little slump, before this little slump were absolutely insane for Thomas Tuchel. I think this is physiological. Like, this is just what happens when you play a lot of football. You win some games, you lose some others, you keep a lot of clean sheets, and sometimes you concede a lot of goals. Because the stats, like we've covered it thoroughly on the pod, they were just insane. And right now, it just feels like a normal team again.
But the problem for them is that they've not been able to start the same defense for the past 4 games. Their back three has been different every single game. And I feel like this is really causing them problems. Like, we know that they were based on defensive solidity, right? They didn't concede goals, therefore you can't lose games, right? And now they're having to bring in Christensen, or is it Chalobah, or is it Azpilicueta, or is it, and just moving around. It means that there's that stability's kind of gone a little bit. And I think that's where the problems are coming from. We've talked about how many they've conceded over the last couple of games. For Wolves, as I said, they do not concede goals. They do not score goals. I think this is going to be quite a close, tight game. We saw that Wolves only lost 1-0 to Liverpool and 1-0 to City. I think they're going to frustrate Chelsea again. As I said, Chelsea have kind of been struggling in the last couple of games, not being as convincing. I think this could be the kind of upset of the weekend. Then at 2:15, really bizarre game, time.
I was going to tell you, it's like, I remember when my sister studied abroad in the US, her school started at 8:07 every day. And I was like, is that a joke? And she was like, no, the bell rings at 8:07. I was like, what? Why not 10? Why not 5?
Yeah, why not?
Why not
10?
8? Yeah.
Yeah. So at 2:15 on a Sunday, that traditional kickoff time, life gets much, much harder for Newcastle as they welcome Man City fresh off a 7-0 run.
I would call
Can
in
they
sick.
beat their score? Can they beat their score?
If I played for Newcastle, I would call in sick. Hey guys, I think I have a cold today.
It's COVID. No, just trust me. I've got COVID. Don't worry about it.
Cancel the game now.
So City go down to St. James's Park. That's going to be a cricket score. So moving on. The last game of the weekend. If it plays, I don't know if it's been cancelled. Has it been cancelled?
Not yet. I just checked. Not yet.
At 4:30 on Sunday, we should get Tottenham versus Liverpool, which is actually going to be a fascinating game. I don't know if Conte and Klopp have faced off. Have they managed against each other before? I would have to check that.
Off the top of my head, I do not recall Juventus. Well,
playing Dortmund, maybe?
No, I don't think so. I don't think under Antonio Conte. It would have to be... I'm going to just talk to you guys while Rory checks the stats.
I'm desperately Googling.
Look, I'll just say one thing. I need to give Rory a little praise because we were answering a question from a fan, I think on our Monday show, that asked, do you think the Premier League is on another level compared to all the other leagues? And I said probably, but the Premier League is kind of a unique model of football. And Rory said that the Bundesliga is very similar. When you think about it, two very successful Bundesliga managers are doing great in the Premier League in Jürgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel. So yeah, I think that actually for a German manager, the best place to move to manage is England. Rory, I'm running out of things
Antonio
to say.
Conte, they've faced each other 4 times. I can't tell you in what games. They've won 1 each and drawn 2. So it's completely even. So we will see all that. And it's a draw. The American fans will be fuming. But this could be a really good game. Tottenham against Liverpool. We'll see how many Tottenham players are fit. Liverpool probably going to win. But I think that's definitely the game of the weekend. What do you think? Klopp versus Conte. What do you expect?
I think Klopp. Easy win for Klopp. Not because he's better than Conte, but with this Conte's been at Tottenham too little. I don't think they've quite assimilated his style yet. Of course, as always, I was speaking in Central European time and Rory was speaking in UK time.
Just to keep it interesting, guys. But before we go to the weekly topic, Tommy, I know that you and we wanted to talk a little bit of AFCON and talk about, well, we've talked about Klopp. And it could have been a smoother segue, but here we are. Klopp's comments about the AFCON have really upset people. Now, what he said was, we have the matter of a little tournament in January. Now, what I'm torn as to whether it was like a mistranslation, or not mistranslation, whether he kind of got the phrase wrong, or whether it's been misinterpreted. Because you can say the phrase of like, oh, just the little matter of, and then it's like this huge deal, right? I don't know if he was trying to say that phrase and got it wrong, or if he was genuinely being condescending to the tournament, but it's definitely been taken the second way. Now, I don't know what you thought of that comment, or how did you interpret it?
Now, I just read it, so
Okay.
I don't know if there is an original clip where he's interviewed and he actually says it, because that would solve a lot of our doubts. The surprising thing is that I've never heard Jürgen Klopp say something controversial before. Am I right? He's not the type. He's always like, when he was asked about COVID, I really liked his answer. It was just like, I am a football manager. Why you're asking me about a global pandemic? Like, ask the fucking experts. Like, this is pointless. This is the state of our world even. He seems even as a wiser man than most men in football, like a person with a bigger culture and everything. That's why when I read the quote, I was like, Klopp said this? Now, the in general, the attitude towards the AFCON is very bad. It's like, oh, it's like this thorn on my hip that like it's gonna come and some of our players are going to leave and everything. It's just a pain in the ass. It's a fucking continental competition. Like, we praise the Euros and the Copa America so much. Why is AFCON a pain in the ass? Yes, it's played at a very inconvenient time of the year, but at the same time,
for Europe, it's inconvenient for Europe.
For Europe,
right?
It's true. It's a very European, but at the same time, Europe is the football continent. If you want, it's the continent that invented the sport and where the sport has the most following, I would say. However, Asia is probably right behind. But yeah, I don't know. Look, it's just awful, the treatment that they're getting, and it feels like there have been like these questions by journalists to players, African players, like, so what do you think about the AFCON? Are you excited to leave? And the best answer I've heard so far was very plain, but very right, by Zambo Anguissa. That was just like, look, am I sad to leave my teammates behind in a Scudetto chase? Yes. Do I want to play for my national team and try to win a continental competition? 100%. So I'm sorry, but I have to go. Like, there's no way around it. It's almost as if the journalists wanted them to say something like, no, I wish I could stay in Naples and like win the Scudetto. Why wouldn't they want to go there and play? Now, there has been a lot of controversy around this edition of the AFCON, not only because of COVID worries, but especially because it's going to be held in Cameroon. And there is an ongoing civil war, which I tried to go deeper in this very afternoon, but I don't feel quite as prepared to talk about it yet. Look, I spent some time on the Wikipedia page that talked about this civil war that has been going on. And as always, Wikipedia pages are very thorough, plenty of hyperlinks. And I got only through the first paragraph because there were so many things, so much previous history that I needed to explore. And I realized how much of an overlooked continent Africa is. And it's very, very sad. In 2021, there are still people that when you tell them, tell me a country, as a teacher, trust me, I know.
Oh, it happens all the time.
Tell me a country that you would like to visit. Africa. You motherfucker. Africa is one of the biggest continents that there is out there. It is not a country. There is a plurality of cultures, plurality of languages, what a difficult word.
It is a difficult word.
Multitude of cultures and everything, and it deserves more respect. And I just think that it's awful that everybody's just trying to rip on this international competition. This is my 2 cents on the matter.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And a lot of the narrative is like, why it's just assuming that European football is more important, and it's more important to European people, but just assuming that it should be more important to people from Africa is just ridiculous. Like you said, they are there to represent their country, to try and win the biggest tournament on their continent, like a tournament with a great history. I fucking love the AFCON. I can't wait. I'm glad they didn't cancel it, even though it could be incredibly controversial. I'm glad it's still going ahead because I love to watch football. But yeah, I think it's the attitude in general from a lot of journalists has been really disgusting. And just to finish with the Klopp thing, you're right. I was surprised because I tend to agree with him on his politics and on what he says outside of the game. I tend to agree. And that's why when I read it, and I think maybe heard it, maybe I read it, but when I did read the comment, I thought I sided with, that's not what he meant, right? Because of what he said in the past and what his track record has been on certain issues. I think he is very good and very inclusive, open. He's very German, right? He's a very German guy.
True.
So I was kind of surprised by the comment. But look, we're going to be, thankfully, I tweeted Tommy mate, they might cancel the tournament. I don't know what we're going to do. But thankfully they haven't. So we're still going to be covering it. We have a pretty exciting guest coming on who's an AFCON expert, I'm going to say, who's going to get involved. He's going to be coming on the show, talking to us. So it's going to be exciting, guys. It's exciting times. We are still going to be covering it.
And just to wrap it up before we jump to a very exciting wiki topic, I wanted to say that from what I can understand so far about the civil war, it's a civil war based on language. The two languages are English and French, which are original from the countries of England and France, which are not in Africa. They're in Europe. So it's the usual narrative of Europeans fucking shit up in another continent. Then shit unfolds and it's the other people problem, the people who live in that country. So this civil war, if it's undergoing, it might as well be because we kind of colonized an entire continent. And when things got scary, we were just like, whoop, we're out of here. Luckily,
classic Europeans. We're done.
Classic Europeans. Luckily, as an Italian, I'm very glad that our country sucks at fighting wars. We were never able to establish long-lasting colonies in Africa. This helps a lot my white guilt. I know it's not the same for my co-host, Rory Criscolo. But this is for another podcast. This is for another episode. I promise I will look more into this civil war issue. And by the time we'll start covering the AFCON, we will have a better picture of everything that goes on in the African continent. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to dedicate our 30 minutes, or maybe a little more, or maybe a little less, of the weekly topic to one of football's greats who unfortunately had to say goodbye to football ahead of time. We are talking, of course, about Sergio Agüero.
It's finished at Sunderland. Manchester United have done all they can. That Rooney goal was enough for the 3 points. Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Agüero! I swear you'll never see anything like this ever again. So watch it, drink it in.
And even not being a City fan, that clip kind of weirdly gives me goosebumps. Here we are. We are here to talk about the great man, Sergio Kun Agüero. Tommy, listening to that clip, what are your memories? Where were you? Your first thoughts that come when you think of this tiny maestro?
Very quickly. Back in the day, I had started dating an American girl who was living in Italy, and we were taking a holiday before she departed for the United States to go back there and live. So you can imagine that for both of us, the emotions that we were feeling were pretty intense. You know, we had been together for 8 months and she was about to leave. And so we decided to book a beautiful little holiday in Ventotene, a beautiful island off the coast of Rome. And our anniversary was on May 13th, the day that game was played. As you imagine, on May 13th, which was our 6th month anniversary, we went out. I was not allowed to watch any football. We went out. We had a beautiful dinner. And the next morning, while she was preparing me the best breakfast ever, I just start reading newspaper articles about that game and important journalists calling it the craziest ending to a season to ever be had. And so I started watching highlights of the game. I remember it was a clip, extended highlights, 35 minutes. And I was just so in the zone when I was watching the last 10 minutes of play that I got in an argument with her, and I was just like, look, Amy, it's not that I'm not acknowledging you, but look at what happened. So that is my memory. Did you watch the game live?
I did. I love that. I watched the game next to my Man United supporting uncle, which was mwah, it was beautiful. So we were sat in the house watching the game, and obviously Sky Sports were doing the switching from Sunderland to Manchester, and obviously Man United had already won the game. My uncle was sat there kind of rather smugly going, oh, another United title, kind of giving us a little bit of a dig about supporting Arsenal, and oh, don't worry, you'll get there one day, blah, blah. And then we see the kind of play building. And I'm like, oh, wait. And he's like, no, nothing's going to happen. And then you see it, the desperation kind of getting in his voice, like, nothing's going to happen. That ball from Balotelli, Agüero smashes it in. And honestly, for that 30 seconds, a minute, I was a City fan, and I went absolutely mental, jumping up and down, screaming. It was incredible. That moment of like, because it was Man United as well, and everyone who doesn't support Man United hates Man United. I think the whole country was celebrating that goal, except the red part of Manchester. Just an incredible moment, and like genuinely, the best Premier League moment ever, I think.
And can I tell you, when I was watching last night, you can find a video on YouTube. It's called, I think, Man City QPR, last 10 minutes of the game. Watch the last 10 minutes of the game. I will say it right now because this episode is on Kun Agüero and we don't want to get too distracted. But Mario Balotelli was having a hell of a game. He was dropping back, contrasting the attackers, and he assisted. That was probably his best assist ever. He assisted Sergio Aguero in an historical play that meant Manchester City were winning their first ever Premier League title. One thing about that clip, man, it made me... Look, I'm not exaggerating. When I finished watching that clip, I was like, that was 10 years ago. God, so much stuff has happened since. But also watching the players, man, and Mancini still looks like he still looks pretty young, but he's aged too. And the excitement on his face, he was just like, holy fuck. Mancini has always had a soft spot for England and the English football. And for him to be the manager that gave Man City their first title, I think it was almost as big as an emotion as winning the European Championship with Italy this summer. But we decided to start with this moment because when you think of Agüero, you think of Agüero.
I need to quickly before we move in, jump in. Just another thing I noticed watching that clip again is everybody's going absolutely mental. And then there's just a quick shot of Kolo Touré in a jacket, just kind of chilling, just nodding his head like, okay, nice. And as the whole world loses their mind, he's just like smiling on his own. I was like, classic Kolo Touré. You love to see it. But we can move on.
Another thing that was very impressive to see was Samir Nasri, that didn't look like a gas station manager, but actually like a proper football player.
But he was actually decent. Yeah.
We decided to start from this moment because when you think of Agüero, you think of that. But Agüero's history is much more than that. And it starts back in the day in Argentina. He was born in 1988, which makes it very sad because he's still only 33 years old and he could still have a run at football. But Rory, take us through his beginnings at Independiente. One of the important things that I found on the internet is that he was the youngest player to debut in Argentina's Primera División at 15 years and 35 days. This happened on the 5th of July, 2003.
Exactly. And it was a record previously set by Diego Armando Maradona, right? So this was a guy like Sergio Aguero. When he came through, he was a player that people were always excited about. Even internationally, him and Messi coming through in the same international, like that Argentina generation that won the under-20 World Cup twice is a ridiculous generation. But him growing up alongside Messi, like we know him and Messi are like best friends. Messi is very close to the family. Like we know that they're very, very close. But he came through at Independiente and almost straight away he became like a really he came on very young. Then there was a few manager changes and there was a couple of months between his first and second game. But then once I think it was the third manager came in, he started giving Sergio more time and started to kind of encourage him. He scored his first goal for Independiente in a 2-2 draw against Estudiantes on the 26th of November with a 22nd minute shot from outside the penalty area. And there was another goal for Independiente, I think this season, where the story was his manager said to him, I think it was a draw, they were level, and the manager said to him, if you go on now, I will buy you a beef barbecue sandwich if you go on now and score. So Agüero goes on, picks up the ball in his own half, dribbles around the entire defense, sticks it bottom corner, goes crazy, does the thing swinging his shirt around his head, kind of foreshadowing the Manchester City goal, and then screams at the manager, "Where's my barbecue sandwich?" So he kind of really started to get his name at Independiente there. And I saw videos, of the fans absolutely adored him already. There was a whole stand with the banner with just their stadium and just Kun Agüero written over it. They had a popular Argentinian pop song that they twisted to fit his name. They went crazy for him. His impact was fast and intense.
I was going to ask you, what do you think was Sergio's reaction this year when he saw Mourinho gifting a pair of Balenciaga shoes to his player, because that was their agreement? So from barbecue sandwich to Balenciaga shoes.
I just got the kind of notorious thing of shit's done changed. Times change. What a different world. And also watching these clips, I realized how quickly cameras improved. Christ alive. It was like watching Lego men playing football, some of those clips. It was terrible. But obviously he had this incredible start in Independiente. During the 05-06 season, Agüero scored 18 goals in 36 league appearances, having missed 2 games due to suspension because he did slap a player in the face and ended up getting sent off. So that caused him a bit of problem. But all this kind of media attention, all this hype eventually caught the eye of the European leagues. And of course, he was destined for bigger things. Now, in 2006, Agüero moved to La Liga to Atletico Madrid. Now, what I found fascinating was I didn't know whether it was a classic Lukaku line or whether he actually meant it. But in the press conference, he said, as a child, I always dreamed of playing for Atletico. Now, I'm not denigrating Atletico. They're a huge club, right? And they do have Argentinian ties, but maybe I just think they have Argentinian ties now because of Agüero and Simeone. I don't know if they always did. But do you think he dreamed of playing for Atletico? I don't think it's out of the question. It just struck me as strange.
I don't think he did.
No, I think, right? Is it a Lukaku thing? I don't know.
I think he dreamt of playing for River Plate or Boca Juniors. I don't know which side he supported. But when you think about Europe, you either dream, I think, as a little kid that grows up in South America, number one would probably be Real Madrid back in the day, because Barcelona was not the powerhouse that we know today, or Manchester United. I think those are the two teams.
It struck me as strange. So in 2006, he of course moved to Atletico, where he was managed by Quique Sanchez, better known for his incredible stint at Watford, where he would of course win. Now the major silverware he would win whilst at Atletico, as well as getting him into the top 4 and their most successful seasons for a very long time at Atleti, he would of course win the Europa League against Fulham in the final, where he assisted both the goals for Diego Forlan. Now, this is a real golden period for Agüero's performances in terms of partnerships. And what I noticed is that he's always had strong partnerships with who he played with. Now, with the players he scored the most goals with within his career, Diego Forlan, he has 37 goal involvements. So either assisted each other, right? The player with the most was, I think, no surprise, is kind of David Silva on 44. And then Lionel Messi in 18 is kind of all the way down there. But Diego Forlan is the first strike partner that he got in Europe where he really started making headlines.
Now, we're going to backtrack his story at Atletico a little bit, but don't you think this is a super old school thing? Forlan and Agüero up front, we don't see that much anymore. But strikers with similar characteristics playing up front together, 2 pure number 9s, we could say, playing up front together. We see it less and less. The problem when he joined Atletico, definitely not for the Atletico fans, was that there was the competition of a certain El Niño Torres. So he didn't get a super regular start every game the first year that he was at Atletico, but he was patient. And in 2007, when Torres moved to Liverpool, at that point, he became the focal point of the team. And in 2007, 2008, he was already the third highest goal scorer in La Liga, and he helped Atletico qualify for their first UEFA Champions League in over 10 years. So definitely moving to Spain and making a statement. And in 2008 and 2009, that's the year when he started often alongside Forlan. And they had a standout game, a 4-3 win against Barcelona, where they both had a brace, and Sergio Agüero was already rehearsing for that QPR game, and he scored the last minute winner. In 2010-2011, it was the first season in Spain where he managed to get as many as 20 goals. That was the first time of his career. And then on 2011, on the 21st of May, after having won, as Rory said, UEFA Europa League, but also a UEFA Super Cup against Inter Milan.
Do you remember this game?
Not at all. Not at all. Right. Man, it was for Inter Milan fans after we won the Champions League. There was like a 1-year days that definitely reflected on the pitch as well. Definitely reflected on the pitch as well. And, we go out as European champions and we play the Europa League winners and we lost 2-0. And of course, he scored and assisted against Inter Milan. But on 21st May 2011, he played his last game against Mallorca. They won 4-3. And look, this was the first hat-trick of his career. And it also marked his 100th goal for the Colchoneros. So a goodbye that wasn't very expected because he had just renewed his contract. But he didn't celebrate for any of the goals in this game. And so the fans started feeling like something was off. Then it became public that he was moving to Manchester City. But the Atletico Madrid fans were very nice to him. And when he left, they unveiled the banner that said, Sergio Agüero, we hope you die. So, yes.
It's definitely to the point. Definitely to the point. Well, I feel like it didn't become public. He posted it on his website that he wanted to leave and he was ready to go to Atletico. So I feel like he definitely didn't manage that situation particularly well. I feel like he's been there's been moments in his career where he's just, earlier in his career, when he got to Man City, he was very quiet, very professional, you didn't hear anything about him. But I feel like when he was younger, there was a few moments where you're like, okay, just kind of wild decisions, or like how choosing to leave Atletico that way, it seems very like foolish. Having just signed a contract, maybe he was just like tricked into signing the contract or convinced and then regretted it. I don't know, but it seems like a shame to end that kind of really exciting chapter of his career in quite a sour way. But I'm sure we'd have to talk to Atletico fans, but I'm sure Atletico fans still look back at his time pretty fondly, considering I think we've talked about the kind of lineage of strikers, of great strikers that they've had. And he was like early in that, right? It was Torres, then him, or Forlan, then him. Like he's
It was Torres, Forlan, him, Forlan, and then Atletico fans are not spoiled for many things, but when it comes to strikers, I don't remember the last club that sold a player like Agüero and purchased Radamel Falcao as a replacement. That is absolutely insane. But Rory, I don't know about you, but I feel like when I was younger, I kind of missed most of Agüero's deeds at Atletico, but I remember the last season he was at Atletico, I was just like, oh my God, this is the ultimate striker. I remember that last season I was checking the scores in Spain, and so many times it was Agüero, 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 Agüero. By the way, I studied languages, and it's not Agüero, it's Agüero. Why? Because it's got the 2 dots on the U, which makes the U to be pronounced. Sorry, little language tip.
There you go.
But no, that was the moment. And Rory, I wanted to ask you, before we move on to the biggest part of his career, of course, it's 10 years at Manchester City that made him become one of the standout names in Premier League history. I wanted to ask you, what are the standout things that you remember from Agüero's style of play?
I just always, the first thing that comes to mind is that he doesn't need time and he doesn't need space. Mm-hmm. He just, no matter what position in the pitch he's in, he will find space or time, or he'll just get the ball from under his feet, and he's always a threat. There's no, again, looking back through his goals, there's no like typical Agüero goal. I think if there is, it's like a kind of dink to the far post. He does love a kind of dink to the far post or a shot to the far post, but there's no kind of typical goal. He just scored all sorts of goals. And like you said, with that last year at Atletico, he was the first signing, because obviously City at that point had been spending quite a bit of money, and it had been hit and miss with a lot of players like Elano, Robinho. There'd been a few that had come and not kind of really impressed. But with him, he was the first signing where I was like, oh, Man City are serious. This is a signing that means, because you knew that every club in the world was after him. Like Real Madrid and Juventus were apparently close to getting him when he went to City, but he'd always wanted to play in England. So he was the first signing where I was like, oh, this could genuinely be something that means City are a threat. And it did. Like he was the first kind of like nail in that there of like, okay, City are a force now. And it was that kind of marquee world-class signing.
I absolutely agree with you about Agüero, and this is one of the things that makes him so great, is that he could score headers, he could score from outside the box, inside the box, he could dribble, he could do anything. But one thing that I realized he was very good at by rewatching his highlight reel is the give and go. He's the king of the give and go. And sometimes his give and goes take a completely different shape than most. He's like on the left flank, gives the ball to the guy holding up the position, like on top of the box. And the guy kind of has to shoulder the defenders, because that he knows that Agüero is going to run all the way to the right flank, get the ball back and score. There are a few goals like that, and it's absolutely incredible. But we've gotten to the time, 21st of May, 2011. He plays his first game for Atletico, and then the decision comes. He is a new Manchester City signing. And Rory, this is your league of expertise. I shall let you go.
So he signs for a reported £35 million, and he makes his debut for City on the 15th of August, 2011, in a 4-0 win against Premier League side at the time, Swansea City. Now, this debut is kind of considered one of the greatest debuts of all time. He scores a hat-trick, and he scores a hat-trick after coming on the bench. He makes it 2-0, 3-0. No, he scores 2 and gets an assist. Sorry. He scores, and the second goal is an absolute belter from outside the box. The first goal is a tap-in at the far post, again, showing us the different types of goals he can make, and he sets up the fourth goal, and everyone's like, wow, who is this kid? We knew he was going to be good, but that is a hell of an impact. And from then on, it just seemed like every game in the Premier League, if he played, he scored. Now, I was trying to look at the teams he scored the most against, right, within the Premier League. So I was looking through his greatest goals again, and what I noticed was that Chelsea were in a lot of those clips. He scored in 23 games against Chelsea. He scored 15 goals, right?
Damn.
And got 3 assists. One of the goals, I think it was in the 15-16 season, but there's a point where I think it's Silva is on the ball and he's waiting for the pass, and Agüero is kind of trying to stay in line with the defense, and he honestly runs in about 4 different directions and then finally makes the run, perfectly timed, onto the ball to Silva and clips it into the top corner. And it's just a beautiful goal. And it seemed like every big game he scored. So against the other top 6 teams alone, he scored 56 goals. Like, he scored. So if I take you through the teams that he scored the most against in the Premier League, right? I'm going to do it super quickly. So, like I said, Chelsea, 15 in 23. Then you've got Newcastle, 15 in 15. What?
Damn.
Tottenham, 12 in 18. Arsenal, 11 in 19. Man United, 9 in 16. You got Liverpool, 7 in 22. Like, it seemed like every game against the big sides, he scored a goal. Mm-hmm. Every final, he would score. I remember so many goals against Arsenal. There's one in the League Cup final as well. And it was the one player in the Premier League. Like, now, I kind of get a similar thing with Ronaldo, right? When you know that you're playing against Ronaldo, you're like, oh, well, we're already 1-0 down because he's definitely going to score. I always got the same feeling with Agüero. It was like, okay, we're against him, so we're 1-0 down. because you know that if he gets a chance, he's going to take it. And that's what he does, right? But obviously, we've talked about that goal, so I feel like we should talk about other goals. My other standout goal for him is against Liverpool. Now, I think I'm terrible with seasons, guys. I think this is the 18-19 season at the Etihad, where at the far post, he kind of, with his right foot, flicks it up and his left foot just smashes it into the roof of the corner. That was a game that City go on to win, I believe, a pivotal point in the title race as well. And just the archetypal big game player, always there and just scoring plenty of goals. Within the Premier League, within the Premier League, he's scored 5 goals twice, 4 goals 3 times, and got a load of hat tricks. His scoring record is truly insane.
Yeah, and talking about insane scoring records, in his first season at Manchester City, remember, the guy was 24 years old. He scored 23 goals in 34 games. And that goal to seal the win over the Cross City rivals, the first ever title for your club. I mean, I think that he could have just sat on the bench for the rest of his life and he would have still become a Manchester City legend. It was beautiful, and he was only 24 years old, I repeat, and he had the leadership of somebody much, much older than that. Also, another thing, Balotelli, Dzeko, and the Sergio Aguero up front. What kind of lineup was Mancini playing?
They are three. Honestly, three. Obviously, Balotelli went off the boil, but 3 kind of potentially generational strikers there. We've talked about how Dzeko is criminally underrated, right?
Yeah.
That is a hell of a front line for City. But before we kind of maybe talk about his international career a little bit, I wanted to talk about the Premier League very, very quickly. And just these records, right? Before Aguero. So, most goals at one club, Thierry Henry. Best minute to goal ratio, Thierry Henry. Most hat tricks, Alan Shearer. Most player of the match awards, Steven Gerrard. Most goals by a foreign player, Thierry Henry. And most hat tricks in a single ground, Thierry Henry. After Aguero now holds all of those records.
Wow, this is beautifully put, Rory. This is the journalism that we like, Rory, indeed. But no, he's become, so he's going to go down in history as one of the greatest ever players in the Premier League, right?
Oh, undoubtedly. And I was lucky enough to see him one time against Arsenal, and it was genuinely you know me, Tommy, we've been to San Siro when I was excited about Messi playing, but then he kept getting injured. I get very excited about being able to add players that I've seen live to a list, and Aguero is thankfully one of them. And I was genuinely I think with a lot of players, when you see them live, they're always faster than they see them on telly. And you're able to appreciate their kind of off the ball runs more. And I was just absolutely blown away by him. I know as well, friend of the show, Tom, he has seen him against West Ham maybe score a hat trick, I believe. And Tom says it's still the best individual performance he's ever seen live.
Still a dream to see him wear the black and the blue colors of Inter Milan. Look, Inter Milan, I've got that Argentinian connection for so long. I was like, come on, guys, come on.
I thought it would happen at some point, I thought it would happen.
There was a season when he was at Man City. I do not recall which season, but there were rumors about him coming to Inter Milan. Did not happen, of course. Before we move on to the international career, I just wanted to recap his palmarès, his titles at both Atletico Madrid and Man City. Well, Atletico Madrid, UEFA Europa League and UEFA Super Cup against Inter Milan. And then in the Premier League with Manchester City, 5 Premier League titles, 184 goals. Let that sink in. Club's all-time top goal scorer, 4th all-time Premier League top goal scorer, and the first foreigner top goal scorer in the Premier League. Other individual awards, but this was back at Atletico Madrid, the Don Balón Award, the Golden Boy Award, and the World Soccer Young Player of the Year. Damn. The only thing that is missing, and we need to say it, is the Champions League. Mm-hmm. And we were trying to look into that, and maybe a Man City fan can help us. What happened on his last season at Man City, because we know that unfortunately he suffered a lot of different injuries and he was often not eligible for the squad. But it feels like something maybe fell off with Guardiola. And at the end of last season, I don't remember him playing that much. And in the Champions League final, he got subbed in at the 77th minute. We would have loved Sergio Agüero to lift the Champions League as well. Mm-hmm. But let's move on to the international career. Rory?
So, as I said, he is, I think, the only player to win the FIFA Under-20 World Cup twice. And as I said, that Argentina squad was incredible. So not only did they have like Messi, they had a lot of players like Insua, Mascherano. There was a lot of really big players that went on and achieved great things in that squad. But then he finally, after waiting a long time, much like Messi, he finally won a major honor with the Argentina full team as he won the Copa America in 2021. So I think not only should we be happy that Messi won it, we should also be very happy that Sergio Agüero has lifted a title with Argentina, especially beating Brazil in the final. Extra sweet, right? And again, a guy who was like key to their victories.
101 caps for Argentina. And now we haven't explained why he's retiring, but probably, guys, you've seen it. It's all over the news. Mm-hmm. A heart condition. And he decided to prioritize his health, of course, rather than football. Now, why is it particularly sad to me? Because I don't know where that was. It was on YouTube, but there was a clip with an interview. Maybe it was Bleacher Report Football. Mm-hmm. It was an interview with him at his home. And I think that in 20 minutes of the clip, he must have said 20 times, football is everything I have. Mm-hmm. He felt like an extremely lonely person at his big ass home in Manchester. He's divorced from his wife, who lives in Argentina, and this kid also lives in Argentina. And he said, aside from football, I play video games. And then I watched a lot of football. And then I go to training.
That bit in All or Nothing was difficult. There was some difficult moments in All or Nothing when he was interviewed where you're like, are you happy? I don't know if you're happy.
That's the thing. That's the thing. It just seemed like somebody who's got a lot of like issues in his private life, and football was keeping him afloat. Mm-hmm. But Sergio, we are behind you. And for any Sergio Agüero fans, I probably imagine that he's going to become one of the top Twitch streamers for video games. So, and he is like, I'm not a gamer like at all, but I have watched a few like Sergio Agüero videos playing Among Us or World of Warcraft, and the guy is funny as fuck. Also, the Argentinian Twitch community, apparently, like they always try, like the best streamers, they always try to have him on. And he always has a good joke. And one time they said, like, there was this guy on the stream that kept asking him about Mbappe. Don't you think Mbappe is crazy? Mbappe is crazy. Like, isn't he crazy good and everything? At that point, he just, like, loses it. He's like, dude, why did you invite me on the stream? Are you just gonna like serenade fucking Mbappe all the time? Like, let's fucking play video games. Like, fuck, stop talking about Mbappe. They were just like, yo, Sergio, calm down. But you see, like, it was very funny because he's got this angry face and then he bursts out laughing. Like, I was playing the character. So maybe a new career is already on the way, and maybe you will have time to spend more time alongside your family. These are our wishes. Probably it's good that you're not playing for this Barcelona side.
Yeah, you dodged a bullet there.
You don't want to end your career. And this is so sad. He fucking moved to Barcelona to play alongside his best friend, Messi. And his best friend was just like, actually, I'm gone. Bye.
It kind of hurts my heart, that story. It really does hurt my heart. But it's worth noting that he barely played for Barcelona and still scored in an El Clasico. So good work, Agüero. Very good work. But the last final thing about his kind of speech, his send-off, it was really beautiful. It kind of, he was holding back tears, and there was all these journalists, and they all applauded. And I was like, stand up. Mm-hmm. And not one of them gave him a standard. Not one person stood up. I was like, come on, guys. It's like, well, you do. A great of the game. He's retiring. Give him a standing ovation. They didn't, the bastards. But it was good to see everyone who was there. Guardiola flew out. Lots of like ex-players. I think Xabi Alonso was there as well. Lots of players that he's played with in the past. And it was great to see, although it's quite a difficult watch.
Very difficult to watch. I agree with you. Yeah, fucking stand up, guys. Two things that I wanted to say. Number one, to me, Sergio Agüero embodies the perfect striker. And I feel like there are less and less of these strikers. I feel like tactics are getting in the way, and they're kind of like hindering the natural talent of players at times. But there is one player that I think should watch Sergio Agüero highlight reels for the rest of his life until he perfections his craft, and I'm talking about Lautaro Martinez. Now, is it only me, or do you also notice some similarities between the two?
I can see some. Yeah, I think physically they're quite similar, although maybe Martinez is a little bit more physical. Although I think Sergio Agüero, low key, was pretty strong, could hold off a defender. I think, yeah, they kind of have a similar. They're able to finish to a similar kind of like a similar style. Maybe not Martinez quite as clinical as Agüero yet. But I think, yeah, they're both kind of pretty good in the air for like short people, right? I think they've got quite a lot in common, and Martinez could do a lot worse than try to emulate him. I'm sure within the Argentina camp, he was picking up lots of tips from him. He did get a few training sessions in with him, thankfully.
And guys, this was so stupid. I had the notes on my phone about Agüero, and I was like, we are done with the Agüero beat, so I'll just delete this note. But I had the quote. This is so stupid. We could have cut it off, but guys, we're all about being genuine. But I'm gonna find it again because I have his page open right here, or maybe I'm not gonna find it ever again. There was a very beautiful quote that you can find on Wikipedia about his goal at Manchester. No, I can't find it anymore. About his goal at Manchester City, and he said that it's one of those moments that probably never happens again in your career. And when he passed the ball to Balotelli, he was convinced that Balotelli was trying to have a go. Probably everybody was convinced. But that is the moment that Balotelli was just like, you know what? It's time to actually play football and be unselfish. And that assist, I have to say it, that assist is perfect. Because he's falling to the ground, but he kind of follows the ball with the tip of his foot, and then it falls perfectly in place. Agüero's task is nothing but easy. He manages to dribble a defender that falls to the ground. And then in the quote that you can find on Wikipedia, he said, I didn't think about anything. I was just like, Sergio, find the room to shoot, and shoot. And he scored. And I want to say that shot, if you look at his highlight reel, it's one of the least pretty goals because it just feels like the ball is boiling hot and he just needs to kick it and he knows it's going to go in. Sergio, thank you so much for all the memories. Good luck on your future career. Rory, anything to tell Sergio?
Hasta luego, adios, whichever one's more fitting.
Hasta luego. Maybe as a manager. No, I cannot see him as a manager
either, really.
Like at all.
But adios feels a bit too final.
Yeah. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego. We'll stick with that.
Hasta luego, Che. Talk to you later. And now, the Passaparola Quiz.
And it is time for our newish, I think it still counts as new, quiz, Passaparola. And this time it is my turn to test Tommy. Tommy, do you think you're going to match my incredible showing last week? And more importantly, my incredible run last week?
You had the 12 points and you had a very impressive run. You warned me that some of these questions are, I don't remember the adjective, but you made it seem like you really went with hard questions this time around. Is it true?
They're not hard. There's just a few that I don't know. I hope my sense of humor pokes through, but maybe that's towards the end. And now I've just set myself up for a massive fail as someone's like, I'm still waiting for the funny questions, man. Where are the funny questions? Like...
But Rory, do you want to explain our listeners how the game actually works? Because it's super easy, but when it comes to explaining it in English, I struggle.
Yeah, well, you're going to see how efficient a teacher I am in explanations now. So you have 2 minutes to answer as many questions as you can, but the questions are in order of the alphabet. You can either passaparola, which means you get the timer stops, and then
you move on to the next.
Move on to the next one, or you get it wrong, the time stops, and you move on to the next one. But you have
Exactly.
2 minutes to answer as many questions as you can.
But also, there is a possibility that you get it right. The time doesn't stop.
Yeah, I always forget that one.
And you keep going along the wheel. All right. I think it's time for our theme sound.
What a banger that is. Incredibly 90s, but here we are. We're ready to go. More importantly, Tommy, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I am. And for our listeners, just type Passaparola original theme, and you can see how undressed the dancers were on Italian television towards the end of the 90s. It was the only moment of the day that my grandfather kind of woke up from a constant nap and was just like, elbowing me like, hey, which one is your favorite? The blonde, the brunette? It was, Italy. What a beautiful place it was. At the peak of Berlusconi television. That was all owned by Berlusconi, of course.
I'll be honest, it feels like Italian TV hasn't moved on that much since, I'll be honest. But yeah.
Trust me, it has, which says a lot about our country. But Rory, I am ready to start whenever you are. Have you got the timer? Have you got the question?
I have. I'm ready to go.
All right, let's go.
In 3, 2, 1. Argentinian ex-Valencia player, small, big hair.
Passaparola.
Ooh.
This is the guy that played also for Arsenal, I believe. No. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1. B, notoriously difficult South American team to play away.
Boca Juniors.
No.
What was it?
Bolivia.
Oh, I was... God damn it. You're right. I was thinking of club team. Right,
Okay.
All right. God, what a great start for me. All right, let's keep going.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1. C, first club of El Fenomeno.
Passaparola.
Oh.
I know it. Now I know it after saying Passaparola. All right, let's keep going.
Okay. And go. D, ex-Fulham player, American.
Dempsey.
Good. Cross-city rivals of Barcelona.
Espanyol.
Good. F, Independiente, United, Villarreal, Atletico, Inter. Who am I?
Passaparola.
Ooh.
Ooh. All right, we're at G.
Okay. And you ready? Hello?
I am. Yeah.
Okay, good. 3, 2, 1. G, nickname of Real Madrid in the 2000s.
Galacticos.
H, scorpion-kicking Colombian goalkeeper.
Higuita.
I, Gylfi Sigurdsson is from.
Iceland.
J, only World Cup appearance is in 98.
Jamaica.
K, Wisła and Cracovia are based in which Polish city?
Krakow.
L, Benfica, Chelsea, PSG, Chelsea, Arsenal. Who am I?
Passaparola.
You got 56 seconds left, Tommy.
I knew this one. I knew this one too. There are already 2 that I passed, and I knew them. God damn it! All right, I'm ready. We're at letter M.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. M, Agüero's son's godfather.
Maradona.
No.
Oh, damn it! It was Messi, of course.
Yeah.
And Agüero was married to Maradona's daughter. That was the story.
Exactly.
Damn it! This was tricky. There were 2 M's in that wedding. Damn it. All right. So far, I've got 7 points. All right.
7. Not bad. Okay, we are on N, and you've got 52 seconds left.
All right, let's go.
52 seconds in 3, 2, 1. English team nicknamed the Canaries.
Newcastle.
No.
Oh, it's Norwich, right?
Yeah.
The Magpies and the Canaries.
There's lots of birds in the Premier League. Lots and lots of birds.
Lots of birds in the Premier League. All right, let's keep going with O.
Okay. O in 3, 2, 1. Celtic versus Rangers is called.
Passaparola.
Oof.
Damn it! Why? Okay, dude, there are 3. Oh my god, there are already 3 that I passed and I knew them. I will tell them after. All right.
Okay. P, you've got 34 seconds left. P, in 3, 2, 1. MLS team with the suffix union.
Philadelphia.
Good. Q, London-based football team.
Queen Park Rangers.
Good. R, Hadji, Mutu, and Kivu all played for
Romania.
Good.
Romania.
S, Spain won the World Cup in
South Africa.
Good. T, who get battered everywhere they go.
Tottenham.
Good. U, Zico played for this Italian team between 1983 and 1985. Good. V, Brazilian team named after Portuguese explorer.
Vasco da Gama.
Good. Stadium name of Young Boys.
You gotta tell me the letter, motherfucker.
W.
Passaparola.
And you're out of time.
Wait. I want 5 more seconds to answer the next question because you did not give me the letter. And
Okay, right, fine. Let me
mode.
get my timer. Right. You should be able to follow the alphabet, Tommy. Right.
I know, but we don't have the W, X's, and Y's in Italian. I always get confused.
Okay. I've put 5 seconds on the clock.
Which letter?
W.
Okay.
Okay. W. Stadium name of Young Boys.
Passaparola.
And you're out of time. That wasn't bad.
All right, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Oh,
yes! Which means I'm at 26 and Rory is at 22. Stay tuned. There could be more episodes. Guys, you haven't let us know that much if you're enjoying this game or not. If you can follow it from home, that is our main interest. Possibly is not the best game to play while you're driving. I can see people crashing their car rather quickly. Like, what is it? Closing their eyes and just going straight into a tree. All right, let's start from letter A that I passed. What was the question again?
Okay, so A, we had Argentinian ex-Valencia player, small, big hair. It was Pablo Aimar.
Pablo Aimar. Correct. I did not remember that one.
Okay, then B, we had notoriously difficult South American team to play away. I should have said national team. That was a bit difficult. It was Bolivia, of course, because of the really high altitude. C, you said you know the answer now, Tommy. What was it? El Fenomeno's first club.
Corinthians.
No, correct. It was Cruzeiro.
Cruzeiro, correct. So I did not know this one, right? Confirmed.
D, you got right. Ex-Fulham player, American, was, of course, Clint Dempsey.
F, okay. I Passaparola on F.
Okay, F, Independiente, United, Villarreal, Atletico, and Inter. Who is it, Tommy?
Forlan.
It is Diego Forlan. You next passed on...
Letter L.
L. Benfica, Chelsea, PSG, Chelsea, Arsenal. Who is it?
David Luiz.
David Luiz, of course it is.
David Luiz, of course. And with the old match between Celtic and Rangers, it's the old firm, of course.
It is the old firm derby. Good work. The next one you passed on was, I'm just scrolling down quickly. None of them.
W.
Oh, W. W, the stadium name of Young Boys is the Wankdorf Stadion. That's why I include it.
Not only they're called the Young Boys, but they also have a stadium called the Wank the Dorf. That's
Wankdorf Stadion. Yeah. Also, Tommy, I just have to I was so happy when you got who gets battered everywhere they go and you got Tottenham. I was very, very happy about that.
Just like our listeners, I was waiting for your sense of humor. And then when I saw that one, I was like, T is going to be something about me. But then it was like Tottenham. Like I was expecting terrible 5-a-side goalkeeper, Tommaso Adami, something like that. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm leading the game finally after the shambles of the 1 minute to kick off quiz. By 26 to 22, Rory, we'll see if next week, guys, Christmas is coming up. We have to plan a bunch of stuff, but the game might as well be back. Mm-hmm. That's all from me. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Anglo-Italian Pod, on Twitter at Italian Anglopod, and also to give a cheeky follow to our sponsor at Sports Club Maps. I leave it to Rory to send you off with our customary quote, this time around dedicated to Sergio Agüero, of course.
It could only be one man. And here we are. Here's the quiz. Here's the quiz. No, the quiz is done. Here's the quote. I like tricks. I like to dazzle. Dribbling and leaving your opponent on his backside is what life is for. If I achieve what I want to, then I'll mark a distinct era in football. I'm the Che Guevara of modern soccer. Well, you definitely marked an era of football. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you, listeners. We will see you next week.